Okay, everybody, how are we doing? For the last few days, it's been about 2 weeks. I've been in China and talking about the movies we're doing. Actually, we're doing some documentaries we filmed for the last 7 days. And we filmed some, and before that time, probably we filmed all together about 8 days. So as part of the documentary, DeRu, okay. Then we talk about the movie, also the documentary, the movie, they're all together. It's all about a personal life transformation from specific, narrow style, specialized, crystallized martial arts kung fu, meditation kung fu, Zen kung fu, Tai Chi kung fu, kickboxing kung fu, so to speak, as people understand the Russian kung fu, and to a general idea, generalized kung fu. So we did a lot of those. And as we did in the past few weeks on the podcast of Awakening, how, as a human being, we dwelled in that separate self, dwelled in that sufferings, that pains, that personal practices, a separate, unique Kung Fu journey. Some a hero's journey, some not so heroic, and suffering journey or pain journey, and some people just in and out journey. So what is Kung Fu? And so we define Kung Fu in different ways. Traditionally, probably most people define Kung Fu as the physical, the punches, the self-defense, the forms, the Tai Chi, the Xingyi, the Bagua, the karate, the taekwondo, the judo, and the jujutsu. They all call Kung Fu in China, or Kung Fu, or Wushu, which is martial arts, or kickboxing, whatever. And that's within that range of Kung Fu over here in China. So what I want to do is go further to the origin, not to reinvent, rather to go back to the origin of Kung Fu, where it came from. So not just a master's journey as martial artist, but as master's journey, a vision from the beginning. Let's say from beginning of 4.5 billion years ago, of that before the solar system formed, all that DNA, all that water, all that protein needed, all that molecules needed to make a human being. So that is from the scientific point of view. And then everything is space. Within the space, this always a space motion, which is spiral motion, sort of like a double helix spiral motion. That's why our DNA is a double helix spiral. It is that spiral motion from the molecules, from the atoms, from the atom space. All spaces are double helix spiral motion. When you get a big one, you look like a vortex, similar to the waves. Even the waves, they have waves, and a wave is just like a fleeting moment of appearance. Down, yin, up, yang, down, yin, up, yang. So yin and yang. Same thing is with our DNA. Same thing with our life, per se. From the life of the beginning of Big Bang, or before the Big Bang, everything is that spiral space motion, but it's live. Let's say go to as late as the solar system, as this galaxy formed, and you will see a lot of things from the Earth came from where? Came from the galaxy. Came from a lot of planets that exploded, or a lot of planets that is old. There are a lot of planets have supernova, a black hole. And then you have that information carried all the way to the solar system. And then from the 4-5 million years ago, and the human beings, and then animals, the genetics from 4.5 billion years ago to 4-5 million years ago, and you see the transition to form that DNA from simple cells to complex cells, to cellular biology. You see that complex cells to our body. And it's from cell biology point of view, you have 50 trillion cells to 100 trillion complex cells and form that body to make that a human body. And now you have 8 billion people to make that a humanity. So everything is formed within that corporation, because more cooperation, more grouping, more coordination, more harmony, and everything grows. But in the meantime, when that harmony is played, is vibrated in synchronization, in symphony, and you see internally the entropy is decreased. Otherwise, everything went chaos. So you have a chaos, and you have entropy, and they also have an order and a harmony. And so to balance that entropy, to reverse that entropy, just like our DNA, our chromosome, our telomere of that chromosome, So the blink of light, sort of like a lace of the shoes, but the light. And then the more you exhaust it, the more entropy, and then less the telomere. But you see other animals like a turtle, they can reverse it. When they do winter time, well, a lot of animals can reverse that entropy. But the human beings, we found out, we also can do that. So from all that information, we see that a canon, yellow Emperor's canon, about the yin and yang. That's what martial arts came from. That's what Kung Fu came from. That's what Tai Chi came from. Most martial arts are from that yin and yang idea, balance, that coherence, that harmony, always in complementary with each other. Even two people sort of like fight each other, but it's yin and yang interplay. Then you see the humanity as more spiritual, more signal, more energy, more invisible space, energy wave, and we call it qi. We call invisible qi. The invisible qi is we call yang qi, rising qi. Then you see the qi, we call yin qi. For example, the body is yin qi, the liver. But within the yin qi, they also have yang qi. Within yang qi, also have yin qi, because they're in different formulas, they're always in the interplay. In our body, you have yin qi and yang qi, but more yin than the cosmic qi. And then you have another qi, which is the nutrition qi. The vegetable qi, the different vegetables. For example, you have different color, light color, green more yin qi, the white color more yang qi, the purple color more yang qi, the potatoes, then you have the cellular, then you have the Chinese cabbage, then you have other veggies like a reboot, for example. Reboot, for example. So you have different vegetables have different yin or yang according to that Yellow Empress book of Chinese medicine. And then you see the people do acupuncture all depends on that yin and yang qi interplay, that transmission, that balance, that coherence, that harmony. So the body is harmony and this health. When the body is not harmony, it's out of sync, there's a disease. So when you want good health, and then you must have that balance. That balance is the extreme yang qi and the yin qi, extremely yin qi. And then the not so much yin qi, not so much yang qi, they all interplay. Then you have this food, and you eat. You give us nutrition. If it's too much yang or too much yin, also give you different things. For example, if you eat a lot of meat, is that yang or yin? Some people say it's yang. But there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of toxins. There are a lot of toxins and there are a lot of we call yin qi. So within the yin you have yang. Then you have a lot of killings within that animals. That DNA, that information is recorded within that DNA. The meat you eat, especially processed food, even worse. So how do you balance that? That's another kind of kung fu, because the body must kung fu to keep the body in harmony. The human beings must kung fu to keep the human beings in harmony. So over here, when we talk about kung fu, it's called generalized kung fu. Then you have all the qi must have Shen. What is Shen? Shen is the cosmic consciousness. That cosmic consciousness and it connects with the human innate consciousness. That's what we call part of the cosmic consciousness, part of the innermost consciousness of the human being, because which comes from that cosmic consciousness, that original DNA, so to speak, before we make the human body. 4.5 billion light years ago. Before the solar system was even formed. So that ascends all the way to the cosmic inner consciousness. Then you have the consciousness of the individual, which you have subconsciousness, you have educated information into the consciousness, the contents of the consciousness. And then what you eat is also part of the consciousness. That is also part of the information, the contents of the consciousness. The pilot operation, the pilot automation is also part of that, what do you call, collective consciousness of, or unconsciousness, collective unconsciousness or collective subconsciousness. That education, that conditioned mind, that conformity, that culture, that family clans, all that contribute to that the loop of automatic consciousness. If we're not really driving into the innermost consciousness to connect to the origin, what I call it, the cosmic consciousness, to vibrate, to tune in, to connect with the Wi-Fi, the cosmic consciousness Wi-Fi. And you have local Wi-Fi. Local Wi-Fi, that's the between people, between culture. So that's all part of the whole. But sometimes we don't see. That's why I see we have fought, we have struggled, we have suffered. We had the idea of separation of individual fragmentation that I believe for thousands of years. Of course, it's getting worse into the time of physical world. Let's say Darwin. Let's say Newton. The physics, everything's fixed. Everything's determined. But it's totally different from the yellow Emperor's Canon. Yellow Emperor's Canon, everything is a play. It's an interplay. It's a flow. It's everything is in flow. Everything is yin and yang of it is interplay. Balance, imbalance, balance, unbalance. You can rise into cosmic. You can rise into nature. But it also can fall into red line of a diseased, crumble state, which is total chaos, cancer, or different kinds of diseases. So that's what a yellow canons described of that yin and yang balance. That qi, that Shen, which is high consciousness, cosmic consciousness, that Shen, that Jing, it is the essence. The essence from the family, the essence from the cosmos, the essence from your family, and sometimes if you do not have a lot of from family and you not that stand or corrupted, the more family education, the more diseased state mutation, and the more corrupted, more stand into that DNA information. That means you have carried the family disease mutation. So that's called a Jing. Jing, of course, before the two sperm and eggs together, and when they come together and you see the light, a human being is formed. The light is also, that's part of the Jing. That Jing is sort of like the energy you carried within you, sometimes more, sometimes less, but there's also activated relationship. If you exhaust it, if you contain, if you do a lot of fight, do a lot of struggles, do a lot of conflicts, disease states, or worries, anxieties, all that can exhaust your energy. That means exhaust your not only the energy from your parents, from generations of that information, genes, but also give mutation to that gene. And if you maintain, if you keep the calmness, if you keep the harmony, if you keep the cooperation within all the bodies, if you give more energy from that outside source, not only from the food, the purified food, the organic food without chemicals, without all that corrupted information from the animals. And your body's energy is more harmonized. You have less entropy because they coordinate more in harmony, in balance. However, if you eat a lot of meat, if you fight a lot, you have a lot of angries, a lot of struggles, a lot of stresses, a lot of frictions, competitions, and then you automatically dissipate that energy and dissipate that energy frequency. The energy frequencies become lower and lower. Then your health from the very green to yellow and to red. So yellow already warnings, but you still keep going. Exhausting. You smoke, you eat a lot of meat, you eat 3 times a day, and with stuffed your body, total exhaustion. You play all night, you drink all night. So all that dissipate energy and give you disease because extreme entropy. But what I talk about Kung Fu here is about how to maintain that harmony, how to maintain that balance, how to maintain that energy, that installed energy from the cosmos, from your family, and eliminate that chaotic energy, that mutated information, the genetic defection, so that it can be changed. Because as we see, how do you express? How do you maintain? How do you cooperate? How do you do in harmony? Will reverse that entropy. This is not just a Yellow Emperor's Canon idea, the Taoist idea. From nothing to one, two to everything, from formless to forms, and also from forms to formless. That emptiness, that nothingness, without corrupted, to be the origin. The origin cannot be described. That's what the Tao says. Because when you describe, when you try to interpret, when you try to put it into your context, into your contents, everything is corrupted. But that also mentioned by Schrödinger from his quantum physics research and from Heisenberg's point of view, everything is potentiality. Everything is uncertainty, possibilities. So which direction you go? So nothing is really, really determined as our beloved Newton believed. Even time, space, and so on. They have come to this guy from China. His name is Zhang Xiangqian. And this different professors, they come up with a research paper recently. The inner space, the space of the spiral space of matter, the spiral space of the lights. Why the light? Why nothing goes with beyond the light? It's not the light it issued running or fighting or shooting out. Not a light never shot out. It is the space, inner space shooting, moving the photons, the particles. So from that point of view, the space is important. So that's why I see we did a lot of outer space into science, but what about inner space? So if we want to be healthy, we probably do some kung fu of that inner space. That is actionless action in flow. That means we meditate, flow, state, meditate. When we breathe, we use 999 med-breath, or we can simply call it cosmic med-breath. We have 27 modules, major modules, and we have over 100 combinations, extended modules. And I did this week, and the whole week, 7 days, do a prototype with the Chinese students. Well, probably like 12 people came. And this is a good group. They're really into it. We did 7 days and 7 nights. From morning, 6:30 in the morning, sometimes 5:30 in the morning until 9:30, 8:30, 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock. So every day, 7 days. And people enjoyed it. Why enjoy it? We ate once a day. We eat another smoothie in the morning. We eat vegetables in the afternoon. And the evening, after the lunch, we don't eat until next day. So this is also part of that maintenance, part of that meditation, part of that let the body organize itself, clean up yourself. And then everybody is happy. Everybody say, wow, I cannot believe I can do that. And then they become lighter. And then when we do meditation, when we do breathing, when we do some movements, they feel tremendously lighter. They feel tremendously transparent. They feel the body really melt together. Feel that energy frequency. Feel that uplifting. Feel that body-mind in coherence, in harmony, and then in resonance. That's the beauty of that 7 days. It's a life experience. Even the most basic forms of meditation, most basic forms of breathing, really can bring them in. When I say bring them in, tune in. Without chaotic thinking, without extreme thinking, without stress, without all that diseased chaos, they maintain that calmness, that inner peace. That deep meditative state. And you see things differently. You observe things differently. You see the world differently. Just like one lady said, I feel happy. Before I came, I was full of fear. And I feel this, I was free because I had this cough every day. And I stopped coughing. I stopped all these, fears, begin to stop all these fears. I begin to enter a totally different, altered state of the mind. When I left everybody, it was so, nobody wanted to leave, so attached into that place because they just totally fascinated by themselves. Not about what I did, but about themselves, how they transformed. That's what I call the Kung Fu reprogramming. To empty the mind, to empty the trash, to empty the corrupted, cells, to use the fasting, the interval fasting, to clean up the body, clean up the toxins. Not only the body, but the body's body, the self-organization, but also the mind, but also the quantum consciousness in and out of the quantum field, that consciousness. So you see yourself, observe totally differently. You lift up. What I say lift up, basically you already have that innermost super sensory antenna. I call super antenna inside. You connect, use that similar antenna to conceive, to perceive, to conceive, to receive, and totally differently. And you act differently, you behave differently. Your genes begin to express differently. That's what epigenetics have been. The researchers have been give thousands of evidence about that expression, that condition, that environment, that way of perceiving, conceiving, and it changed the genetic expression. We call epigenetics. So that's all that expression is totally general Kung Fu, because that expression is express the body, express the mind. It is the space, it's the movements of the space. Inner space, the movements of outer space. The space of the neurons, movements, the space of the molecules, the space of the atoms, the space of your each cell of that 50 to 100 trillion cells. It's that movement, that revolution. So that's why we started this great pause. Basically, the great pause is space. Clean up all that junks to empty the mind. Not only clean up the toxins, and defect the genes, but at the same time, clean up all the thoughts, clean up the attachments, clean up the emotions, clean up all that psychotic. The mental and physical mutated diseased states. So that is Kung Fu, because Kung Fu, as I said, on our Kung Fu board, it says it is Kung Fu is what? Kung Fu is the movements of the body and the movements of the mind. Kung Fu is what? It's a freedom. It's that freedom. Because when you enter the meditative state, when you enter into that innermost consciousness, when you tune into the vast universe, innerly and outward and inward, we said that infinite potentiality, the infinite space. When you penetrate that infinite space, you have the infinite potential to unveil the infinite wisdom, which is, I call, when we do that, that is Kung Fu imbued with infinite freedom. But you have to Kung Fu. Kung Fu is a responsibility. You have to be actively doing it. Perceive, conceive, and to act. What I call actionless act. Afterless flow. So everything is in flow. Real Kung Fu is in flow, not in conflicts. And that's when you discover the potential. That's when you discover your character. That's when you discover the innermost consciousness of that wisdom intelligence, not just the smartness of the intelligence. What do we believe we have? We always fight. We have this competition. We have this scarcity. We have this conflicts, not only internal body conflicts, the conscious conflicts, your self conflicts, but also conflicts with all the entire human beings and with the nature. So overall, I call that conflicts, all that scarcity, all that belief, all that old states, I call the old OS. That was programmed thousands of years. But when we come to this point, crossroad of AI and AGI, that education, that conflicts, that fights, that self-contradictory, falsified fields we build, we destroyed Earth. We don't care about the ecosystem. We think everybody is fragmented, everybody is independent, everybody is separated. Everybody fight with each other. Everybody envy with each other. Everybody is competing with each other. The world is total chaos. Nations, races, religions, everything's cultures. When we come to this point, are we going to install all that information, that monstrous information into our AI? No wonder we are fear of the AI. No wonder we fear even AGI, because we did a lot of things. The AI, AGI, sort of like a mirror of us. So it is time not for AI to change. AI built by human beings. It is the human beings. Not ask AI to change. AI lead us. What about we design new AI? What about we lead AI? What about we begin to totally operate different AI? Install different information. Give AI some wisdom from Lao Tzu, some wisdom from Yellow Canon's book, The Yin Yang Harmony, or Gautama, the Buddha, Jesus, the scientific research, for example, the Planck, the Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, David, John Wheeler, and all that connection, all that research, observation of the humanity. And everything we see over here is interconnected. Everything was here is that interplay. Everything was here is that quantum field. That quantum field can be changed in and out. That means we must be responsible. We can write our own script. We can write our own stories. We can direct our own movies. We can play our character with compassion, with kindness, to rebuild the very fabric. Not really be rebuilt, but I say it's probably will unveil that innermost potentiality of that wisdom, of that compassion. To unveil, to discover, instead of totally wrapped by that corrupted mind and body. That old OS. So when we move, but the new OS is there. we just need to uncover. We dive in. We use what? What I see, the initial of that new OS is what? Is Kung Fu. The Kung Fu of breath, that pause, the great pause, that long. When you breathe in, you have a long pause. When you breathe out, you have a long pause. So that pause, that empty mind, to cut through, to sever from the past attachments, sever from the past, corrupted information, corrupted transformation. Then we transform ourselves to a new OS, what I call metamorphosis. The metamorphosis, you must reprogram yourself. That is Kung Fu reprogramming flow. So from the basic great pause breathing into the deep meditation, and that's our research. Dr. Blackburn, Elizabeth Blackburn, we never met, but we corresponded. And according to her lab research, she didn't get a Nobel Prize from here, but she was the first one get a telomere of the chromosomes research. She got Nobel Prize for that research of the ocean. What I call animals, even though it's tiny thing. Even insects, they're animals, they're alive. But she didn't do a research on meditation because she wrote me that she had done research on meditation for 25 years. It's a meditation for 25 years. And according to her lab, when you do meditation, not only that telomere is not diminished, but reversed. That is beautiful. That is scientific research. That is the evidence. That is real Kung Fu because that meditation is Kung Fu, part of the general Kung Fu. Then the movements of the body, movements of the mind, the movements of the body, the coordination of the breath, the deeper meditation, the moving meditation, that harmony of the entire body, entire mind, that consciousness, that energy frequency, together. And also give you the empty mind to eliminate the dissipation of the energy, to sever from the chaos, the extreme thoughts that confuse the mind. So that's really good for executives, good for doctors. I just did, actually, I sent you a picture of the doctors, the hospital leaders, the hospital directors. We have 3 hospitals. We have hospital owners, and they had about 30-some people, 33, 34 people, less than 35, I think. They were with me for 3 days about the breathing, about the meditation, about the Zen Taigong, about the Zen Taigong walk. They enjoyed it tremendously. That is the future of the hospital. That's the future of the healthcare. That's what I did. They never thought that this really worked for them. Their body experienced that light. Their body experienced that transparency. Their body becomes what? That's tremendously materialized. Let's say this is definitely, of course, China, they try to have less disease care. They try to have more health care. That's why all these hospitals become, because they don't want to subsidize them anymore. They have to be, they want to they want to transcend, they want to transform. So that's why they introduced me. Some people introduced me to that group. They never thought they could accept me, but they did. And then had a great time. So that is the future and of humanity, of healthcare instead of disease care, self-care, self-health, self-healing. Then we did a nutrition. The nutrition really, really beautiful, installed, and then they feel totally different. They no longer feel heavy, not heavy anymore. Sometimes, of course, you're hungry. When you're hungry, that's when you initiate that cleanup system. When you initiate that self-cleaning. So your mindset is different. So that 7 days, yesterday was last day. It was beautiful. And so many people, so many doctors give me very, very enjoyable response. That's the beauty. See, a lot of medical, chronic diseases, they cannot solve. This is a very, very good thing because you open the energy channel, you open and you not only look the body, look symptoms, but you look the whole body. You look the whole energy frequency. You see the body as a holistic. You see the body as a holographic. And you totally vibrate differently. You feed all the cells with oxygenation. You empty your mind. You depart from the old information that caused that disease, caused that mutation. You express yourself differently. I'll give them a lot of evidence from the scientific point of view. And that neuron plasticity from the breathing, from the meditation. And they have a lot of evidence. I said, wow, we never got into those things before. But now, thank you to you, science and traditional Chinese medicine, and also the yellow Canon and the Eastern wisdom, Gautama from India, and Lao Tzu from China, and all that together with the quantum physics, with the space science, with the inner space science. That's what I'm studying, the inner space science. With everybody together as a co-creator. So what I see is that, and then you will see the human beings from the old OS transform, transcend, or we can say shift to a new OS. The shift is happening. You see, a lot of people begin to be awakened to see in necessity, absolute necessity, to transform, to shift to a new OS. That's what I see. The metamorphosis happens. The new humanity happens. The new civilization happens. That's the next few episodes where we begin to move into that. The high consciousness, the deep meditation, that metamorphosis. From chaos to flow, to harmony. From fear, from angry conflicts, to compassion, to love, healthy body and healthy mind. You choose. I don't have choice. Let him know. We talk more. Thank you. A lot of times we pay attention because we only see the shallow, superficial surface. Even our science, we see molecules, we see space, we divide into so many departments, so many little things, the fragmentation. We only see partial, but we seldom see the holistic. We seldom integrate them. We seldom see the holographic, our lives and our universe. So it is just like you said, it's all aspects of things, inner and outer. The macrocosmos, the inner microcosmos of our lives. When we do meditation, when we do that medi breath, we call cosmic medi breath, we calm down, we relax, we open up the inner space, we dive down, we observe the inner space, we totally give that empty mind, empty body. We totally empty the mind, nothing, yes. And then we enter the inner space. We see that intuition. The future education is no longer the groove of the education will give the knowledge with the past history, past knowledge, past, formula, past known. But future education is to open the kid mind, the intuition, the metaphysical intuition, the spiritual intuition, the ability to download. It's totally different, the inside of humanity, the inside of the universe. And then so that you can lead AI, you can lead AGI, you can give that compassion, that really the discovery to the AGI. When the AGI rises above, you went down, you become a slave. When you rise above, when you get deeper into the inner space, and you can help to lead that AGI. It's a totally different story. So that the inner space is so vital for the next generations. We start here, right now. That's the future for humanity. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, we take a break. We go to the next one, okay? Next week, and we'll see.